Hi, class. Since we're not meeting in person via Zoom this week, I thought I would just record a little lecturette about our topic for next week, which is institutional accountability and cultural humility. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you all can see the PowerPoint and get some additional information. Please do read the articles that I have put up about institutional accountability. And if I find a video that looks particularly well, I'll post that up as well. But I do have an assignment for you at the end of this lecturette, and it's also on your discussion post. So let me get to it. Okay, so if you will recall, cultural humility really has three essential components, and they are lifelong learning and critical self-reflection. And again, that's really about you all becoming more, or the person themselves becoming more aware of their own cultural background, their own cultural biases, their own prejudices, their own stuff that they need to work on, and how they interact with people. The second is recognizing and then challenging the power imbalances that are created between those of us who are helpers and those that we are helping, and to create partnerships where we come alongside of the person that we're helping and we really learn from them what is important to them and how to help them, as well as then share what we have to share in helping them to reach their goals. And so we talked a lot about ethnographic interviewing as a way to create those partnerships. And then the third component of cultural humility is holding ourselves personally as well as the institutions that we work for and learn from accountable to being culturally humble or culturally competent. So our next, so when you think about those three components, you can really think about cultural humility in terms of levels, the intrapersonal, the work that we need to do in ourselves, the interpersonal, the work that we need to do in challenging those power imbalances and in creating partnerships with the people that we're working with. And then organizationally, holding our institutions accountable for being effective um, with all of the cultural pieces that or clients that we work with. So on the intrapersonal level, again, that's our commitment to lifelong learning, our engagement in critical self-reflection, our becoming aware of our own biases and our own limitations, being clear that we all have these biases. Many of them are explicit or we know about them and are conscious of them and so can address them, but some are implicit and we need to work on making those explicit so we're not acting on a bias that we're not really conscious that we have. And then the valuing of um, being in a stance of a learner rather than an expert and showing compassion to others. So that's kind of the intrapersonal work that cultural humility requires of us. The interpersonal work is really how do we approach peers and the people that we're working with, whether we call them clients or consumers, um, how do we approach them with openness, um, really again taking on that learner role and saying these are the things that I don't know. I'm not part of this community, I'm not part of this culture, I've never been in this place before, so can you help me, can you show me, can you explain to me. It promotes mutual empowerment, trust, and respect, in that I'm not coming at someone up here and with them down there, but it really challenges those power dynamics. It encourages peer learning And then it promotes a culture of collaboration and cooperation. So when we come, when we come open to hearing about others' experiences and what others think are important, and how they communicate what their goals are, then it really promotes us being collaborators with them, in cooperation with them, to make the changes that they desire to make. Um, and that can be whether you're working with an individual or whether you're working with a community of people. Really, again, um, coming alongside of, rather than coming from a top to bottom approach with others. Um, Creates a sense of respect and collaboration and cooperation. So this third component that we really haven't touched on yet in the course is institutional accountability. So institutional accountability is really talking about how we hold the institutions, the organizations, the agencies that we work in, that we learn in, that we are part of. How do we hold them accountable um, to being culturally competent? How do we hold them accountable to being valuing diversity and being open to other perspectives, other worldviews, other evaluations and values, other beliefs, all those things that make up culture? How do we hold our institutions accountable to being open, to being collaborative, to being in partner with those other people, whether they're our students, whether they're the clients we serve, whether they're other organizations that we work with, or whether they are consumers in the sense of business. Um, so it's really, how do we hold the places we work and the places we serve accountable to being that way when we're holding ourselves accountable as allies, as being lifelong learners, as being self-reflective. Um, how are we holding those institutions accountable? So what that can look like um, in terms of at an organizational level is how committed is uh, our organizations and agencies, institutions, how committed to diversity and equity are they? What is going on in terms of their policies uh, around anti-discrimination, anti-racism, anti-sexism? Um, how equitable are our agencies or institutions in terms of their hiring practices, their training practices, and their promotional or advancement practices? Do we see, like in the example of, let's say, public child welfare, um, do we see that although there's some equitable hiring practices, advancement practices are not so equitable when we look at diversity? And that the people who are in upper management um, usually tend to be um, men, or they tend to be white women. So looking at how do we hold our agencies and organizations accountable, not only for hiring and for training, but for advancement and promotional practices. In places like universities, how do we hold our universities accountable for faculty and who gets tenured and who's in administration, who's in upper level, so that all of our people of color are not at the administrative um, services level, but not found in the upper administrative levels or in the upper levels of faculty. Um, how do we hold institutions accountable for equitable distribution of resources as well as knowledge? Does our institution create a supportive learning environment so that people can learn to be open to diversity and learn how to be anti-racist, learn how to how to be an ally for LGBTQ people that are being served or work there. Can we hold our agencies accountable for being culturally and linguistically effective? Do we offer services in multiple languages? Do we offer services around different kinds of beliefs or value systems? And then for an academic institutions, does it have a student-centered vision and mission? So these are kind of some of the things that we would look at in terms of holding our institutions and agencies accountable as part of cultural humility. So your assignment for this week's discussion post is to look at the Whittier College website. And I want you to look at that website, and I want you to be able to discuss in your post what are some ways that Whittier College reflects an institution that's committed to diversity and equity. Is it in our mission statement? Is it seen in what we put on the website? Are there commitments to diversity and equity that's out there for the public to see and that we can hold our institution accountable for? Does Whittier College provide culturally and linguistically appropriate services? So do we provide services for those who don't speak English? Do we provide services for our international students that are appropriate? Where is that found in our webpage, and how do we know that that is happening? One thing that's not on here that I want you to think about is our institution providing equitable services in terms of our students and faculty with physical and or other disabilities? And how do we hold our institution accountable for that? Is Whittier College equitable in its hiring and advancement practices? Do we see as many people from the different ethnic, racial, and other groups represented in both the staff and faculty and administration and in those higher levels of those things? So I want you to look at the web page and kind of do an analysis and be able to talk about what are some ways that we reflect that we are an institution that is committed to diversity and equity. And then the other thing I want you to comment on once you take a look at it is what are some ways that Whittier needs to improve in these areas? What are some things that you're not seeing that you would hope to see in terms of holding Whittier College accountable? What are some areas that I haven't mentioned that you think we need to step up in terms of holding Whittier College accountable for their commitment to diversity and equity? So that's what I want you to do for this week. This is what I want you to post and then respond to your peers about. So I hope you have fun with this little assignment. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll look forward to reading all that you all come up with. Have a great week. Thursday, we are meeting as a Zoom class, and we will hear from our group 3, who is going to be leading the discussion on queer rock love. All right, you all take care. Good to see you. Bye.